Major League Hockey in the mid-1970s had a lot of drama. None of it on the ice. Off the ice, numerous NHL and WHA franchises were either in trouble or were shifting or were folding. Now today we're going to be talking about one of the squads that ended up in the NHL after a weird machination of events. They were probably going to come in during a potential expansion for the 77 season, but eventually they were created as a sideline to the Kansas City Scouts, a recent expansion team in the mid-1970s, having no future in the NHL because of monetary concerns. So today we're talking about the short history of the late but not great Colorado Rockies. Now, this Rockies team, not to be obviously confused with the baseball team that has the same moniker. They played in the NHL from 1976 to 1982. They were founded as the Kansas City Scouts, an expansion team that began play in the NHL in the 74 season. Now, Scouts eventually moved from Kansas City to Denver for the 77 campaign. The franchise moved to East Rutherford, New Jersey for the 83 season and was eventually renamed the New Jersey Devils. Now, Denver went without an NHL team until the Nordiques relocated to become the Avalanche following the 95 season. The Rockies name itself would be applied to, again, the MLB expansion team that began play in 1993. Now, Ivan Molinex, owner of the CHL's Denver Spurs, had been awarded a conditional NHL franchise for the 77 season. With McNichols Sports Arena already completed by 1975, he looked to enter the NHL a year early, and the league attempted to broker an agreement by which he would acquire the struggling California Golden Seals and move them to Denver in lieu of an expansion team. At the same time, the Penguins would be sold to a Seattle-based group that also wanted a conditional franchise for that city. Now, the proposed arrangement fell through, and with the continuing franchise difficulties, the NHL called off the 77 expansion. The Spurs then elected to move to the WHA for the 76 season, but Denver fans did not consider the WHA a major league and stayed away in droves. By December, rumors that the NHL was preparing to move the Seals or Kansas City to Denver led Molinex to conclude he could not survive in Denver. Out of desperation, he moved the Spurs to Ottawa almost halfway through the campaign, but the renamed Ottawa Civics lasted only 2 weeks before folding. Now, meanwhile, the Scouts were on the verge of collapse despite having entered the NHL over only 2 years earlier. Although they suffered a 12-win season in 1976, they still fared better on the ice over the first 2 years than their expansion cousins, the Washington Capitals. However, whereas the Washington franchise was well capitalized, no pun intended, and had committed ownership, the Kansas City ownership group lacked the resources and patience to handle the typical struggles of an expansion team. Additionally, the Scouts were hobbled by an economic downturn in the Midwest, facing almost $1 million in debt. The Scouts owners decided to sell the team after a season ticket drive sold only 2,000 passes. The team was eventually sold to a Denver-based group headed by Jack Vickers, who moved the team to Denver as the Rockies. The team would stay in the Smythe division of the Campbell Conference. Now, the team's situation did not improve in Denver. In their 6 seasons there, they only made the playoffs once in 78. Now, even then, they finished with a 6th worst record in the league, 21 games under 500. The Smythe was so weak that year, the team finished second behind the Blackhawks, the only team in the division with a 500 record. This allowed them to edge out the Canucks for the last playoff spot by only 2 points, as in those days, the division runner-up were guaranteed a playoff spot. The Rockies did get to the first round, losing to the Flyers 2 straight. They did not make the playoffs again until 88, their 6th year in New Jersey, as they never even approached the 500 mark during their 6 years in Denver. Now, numerous star players skated with Colorado. We'll go over a few. Barry Beck, one of the best draft picks of that era, set a record his rookie year for goals by a rookie defenseman, while the great Lanny McDonald, who came over in a trade with Toronto in 79, put the team on a map amongst many fans across North America. Now, in addition, the team at various times had such skaters as Chico Resch, Will Payman, René Robert, Rob Ramage, and the great Bobby Schmutz. The team suffered a consistent lack of overall depth, however, and trades tended to trade quality for quantity. Plagued by instability, the Rockies had, get this, 7 coaches in 4 years, none lasting more than 1.5 season, and ownership changed hands twice in 4 years. No, my incorrect there. No, none lasting more than 1 full season. We'll get that in a second with the Don the asshole Cherry situation. Now, attendance was very respectable, considering that the team was very competitive on the ice and unstable off it. Now, under Don Cherry, who was signed for the 79-80 season, a former Jack Adams winner as Coach of the Year. He was named head coach after being fired summarily by the Bruins because of the lack of success against Montreal in the playoffs. Under Cherry, the Rockies adopted the motto, "Come to the fights and watch a Rocky game break out." This could be seen on billboards all over Denver in the campaign. As he later admitted, Cherry's outspokenness and feuding with Rockies general manager Ray Miro, or as some people call him, Ray Moron, did not endear him to the front office. While Cherry was adept at motivating the players, goaltending was still the team's weakness, as Miro refused to replace former Swedish national Hardy Astrom, whom Cherry dubbed the Swedish Sif. That would be an understatement. He wasn't very good. 4.65, I used to call him. Cherry recalled one day when his team players had gotten 10 shots on goal without counter, but Astrom then conceded a goal from the opponent's first shot from far out and was pulled from the net. Now, the Rockies finished that year with 51 points, tied for the worst record in the league. In their final game, which was held at home, Cherry's team defeated the Penguins 5-0. And this dramatization of this can be seen in the CBC Don Cherry 2-part movie. As it was already known that Cherry would not be back for the next year, he wore a cowboy hat and cowboy boots for what he would be his last NHL game. After the final buzzer sounded, his players formed 2 lines for him, with sticks raised to form an arch to walk between, while he acknowledged the cheers of the crowd. Now, the failure of Vickers' petroleum business eventually left him unable to pay the lease at McNichols in '78. The deal was unfavorable from the beginning, in which the team never received any revenue from parking, concessions, or advertising. Vickers eventually sold the Rockies on July 12 to Arthur Imperatori Sr., whose intention was to keep the franchise in Denver before moving it east to the new arena at the Meadowlands, which was under construction and expected to be completed by 1980. His imposition of the team's eventual transfer alienated many fans. Before he could complete the move to North New Jersey, Imperatori sold the Rockies to Buffalo-based cable television magnate Peter Gilbert in a transaction that was unanimously approved by the Board of Governors for the NHL on February 10, '81. At the time, the NHL seemed to be committed to keeping a team in Denver, and Gilbert had promised not to move the team, and league president John Ziegler said he wanted to make the Rockies a model franchise. Now, finally in '82, after a failed bid by an Ottawa-based ownership group intent to move the Rockies to Ottawa, the franchise was sold in May to New Jersey shipping tycoon John McMullen, who also owned the Houston Astros. He then announced that he had big plans for the franchise, but he involved making the long-awaited move to New Jersey. The team was eventually relocated for the '83 season and was renamed the New Jersey Devils. Now, the last active NHL player who had played for the Rockies was Joe Sorella, who retired from the NHL following the '96 campaign. He played his final pro game for the Colner Hall squad in Germany in '97. In that season, incidentally, Colorado saw the NHL return to Denver after 13 years when the Nordiques moved to the city and became known as the Avalanche. Additionally, Rockies draft pick Bruce Driver played in the NHL until '98, but did not join the team until '83, a year after their move to New Jersey. Now, 2 other Rockies, Paul Gagné and Richard Chernomaz, played until '99 in the Swiss and German leagues, respectively. Now, ironically, the 2001 Stanley Cup Finals pitted the teams that have called Colorado home, past and present, in their histories against each other. The Avalanche defeated the Devils in 7 games. Now, the Rockies are credited as being the first team to use the Gary Glitter song Rock and Roll Part 2 at a sporting event. The team played it after every goal scored by a Rockies player. Other NHL teams picked up on this practice, as did teams in other leagues. However, in recent years, Joe Glitter's child sex offenses caused teams to distance themselves from the songs. Now, the Rockies' original logo, a mountain peak with a silhouette of the flag of Colorado, served as inspiration for the Avalanche's secondary logo on their current third jerseys, which were first unveiled in the 2005-16 season. The C on the aforementioned logo was also emblazoned on the primary jersey's shoulders as well. And it's quite an interesting color match or color scheme. Now, the 6 seasons, again, terrible. 5th, 2nd, 4th, 6th, 4th, and 5th. In all those seasons, at one point they were the negative for the goals for, goals against, minus 121 and 79, ladies and gentlemen. Beyond. Again, losing 40 to 50 games a season and only winning 15 to 22 contests caught up with him. Final pro record for the squad, 480 games, 113, 281, 86, with only 1,426 goals for. So basically, 3 goals a game if they're lucky. Now, team captains, Simon Delay, the former Flyers Stanley Cup winner, 76-77. Will Payman, 77-79. Gary Croteau, 79-80. Mike Christie, 1980. Rennie Robert, 80-81. Lanny McDonald, 81. And Rob Ramage, 81-82. Big first-round draft picks for the squad included Paul Gardner, Barry Beck, Mike Gillis, Rob Ramage, Paul Gagné, and Joe Cirella. Rockies' individual records, most goals, Payman with 41 and 77. Put this in perspective, ladies and gentlemen. He only scored 226 goals that year. You do the math. Assists of the season, Payman 46. Points in the year, Payman 87. Penalty minutes in the season, Rob Ramage 201. Points in the season by defenseman and by rookie, 60 by Beck and 77-78. And most wins in the season, Chico, God bless him, 16 in 1982, which is almost 95% of their victories. Now, they did have a strong media presence. KWGN2 was the over-the-air television broadcaster throughout the Rockies' existence. From 76 to 79, Joe Starkey was the play-by-play announcer for radio and television. Dale Earl was the secondary play-by-play man, but beginning in 1980 and on through the end of the final season in Colorado, Norm Jones was both radio and TV play-by-play man. Former Hab, Ralph Backstrom, Jack Jolie, and Zanny Clough were also radio color commentators, with Clough solely working home games. Now, from 79-82, Jim Conrad did color commentary alongside Norm Jones, on television. So again, quite an interesting time in Colorado. The logo was tremendous. The team was crap, but the what they call the dedication was there. They tried, ladies and gentlemen. They tried, but like I said, close only counts on horseshoes. For the Colorado Rockies, Don Cherry's made more money as a commentator on his time in Colorado than maybe the revenue from all the ticket sales for Colorado in all those years. But I can tell you, he's not overstating this. Hardy Astrom was a terrible goalie in the NHL. He had some international success, but for some reason the NHL, just like a bird in the middle of a windstorm, it didn't end well. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing with our NHL Vintage podcast, let us know with a like, comment, or subscribe. Don't forget, requests are always appreciated and always tolerated. And as we like to say in Colorado, and in all of the abandoned franchise in NHL and WHA history, you're only good as your last game. And God bless them. They tried. There was games in Montreal where Montreal would not score in the third period. You'd be leading 7-1 or whatever. They would have enough respect for Colorado. You shouldn't try to embarrass your opponents when you're embarrassing themselves. 4 to 7 goals a game consistently, and that's rough. These were professionals, ladies and gentlemen. But Landy McDonald never said anything bad about Colorado. A lot of people said things bad about Bill Payma, but that's for another podcast because he was a dirty prick in many ways. But, Simon Nollet as well, a stand-up guy as well, great defensive player, part of the French connection of the old Flyers of the 60s and 70s. Thanks for listening. Bye.